back to a brand new phase, I would say. It's a brand new unit in our learning here, Boston Media House, the radio short course. It's presented and put together and compiled and lectured by myself, Chris Jordan, and I'm so happy that you've chosen this path to find your way and you're starting your journey into radio broadcasting, something that I love and I know that you're going to love too as we walk through this journey together. Okay, so lesson 1 of Unit 4, show development and production. So we're going to now go into the background, not really the background, but you understand that producers are, generally someone that does work in the background or in the background. Some are on-air producers as well, which means that you're going to hear them sometimes, but also for the majority of your entire span as a radio practitioner, a radio broadcaster, you will present and you will produce your own content, which is super important. I often have a lot of students just say to me, will I have, or why do I not have, or is there, or whatever it is, a producer for every show, in any show, especially also when they start out. And I'm shocked and appalled by the statement, because that's kind of ridiculous to say I only want to know how to present and someone else must produce for me. Like, the whole point of being a practitioner is to know how to do everything. And also when you do produce your own content, which is very important, like I say, it's mandatory, you have ownership of the entire process. We spoke about the importance of a listener. We're really going to emphasize the importance of a listener here and how it is that you please them. That is your job, man. I've got a couple of rules of thumbs here. Rules of thumbs, that's right, yeah. And a couple of methodologies that I'm going to cover. One in this lesson. Next, we'll do the plan, and we'll do AIR in this one. We'll do plan in the next one as well. Okay, let me not waste any time. Let me get to the actual lesson itself. Just a couple of notes on what a radio producer might or is. So if we look at the notes, a radio producer oversees the making of a radio show. So there are two types of radio producers: an audio and a content producer or creative producer. So we might have a technical producer. We find that quite a lot at talk stations. There's a technical producer that only deals with, let's say, cutting and editing, like the audio elements of the show, whereas the content and creative producer will be the one that obviously puts all the content together, gets the interviews ready, whatever it is, organizes where, let's say, live events are going to be at, and make sure that that presenter is taken care of, that there is kind of like pre interviews with interviews that are going to be happening on the show itself, etc. We'll do all of that now. Okay, all right. So audio producers, and they create sound, like I just said, specifically. And once again, the content producers are, as I said, those many different job descriptions or functions or responsibilities that you do have, plus more. Okay, so the content producer might also organize, might also 10 to 1 will be in charge of organizing, let's say, guests, sometimes music choices only in features or speciality shows. Will work together with a music manager. Callers for talk radio, definitely you'll be someone that is screening callers, screening voice notes. Like when I say screening, you're going to be playing those things, those voice notes, and saying, okay, I want the presenter to use this one. You will also be typing out like descriptions of what it is that the voice notes / this particular caller will have to say, and what it is that's important about them, and which aspects the presenter will then start off and let's say start that conversation off, so time is not wasted. Very rich, obviously, radio is created in that sense. Competitions, timing, overall show content, etc. Right. So the role of a radio producer might also include actually like running the desk. So we do have some very few presenters that will be at their own mic, and there'll be a producer / maybe a co-presenter or a contributor that is running the desk and does talk now and then within the show as well. That is not the producer themselves. most of the time. The producer will be a separate element. This normally happens in some of the breakfast shows as well. And the producer often used to be a separate, or used to be in a separate control room. They usually still are as well. Sometimes now they will be within the same studio. I don't see the practicality of that at all. They should be somewhere else because they are doing a lot of talking. They do a lot of the dynamic prepping, which means like the on the spot prepping as well. They should be somewhere else, and they should have a communicative mic, so there'll be a channel that they can actually PFL pre-fade listen to and speak to the presenter while music is playing, right? So let's talk about what content is. I like to use this anecdote to start it off, in terms of what entertainment is, because it does come from my heritage as a Greek person, right? So way back when Greeks did a lot of great things. I'll say no commentary right now on their present contribution to society, but anyway. So the ancient Greeks, we know, developed philosophy, and they mastered mathematics and science and whatever it is. But what they also did, about the Odysseys that they would go to, and it wasn't only these were not like fictional stories. One would have you also believe, obviously the gods and all that type of stuff. I'm going to get off the point. The point is that they did go on Odysseys, they went on wars, they were super strong. Everyone's watched 300, like they were great warriors. The thing is that when they went out on these Odysseys, like I say, there would be a bunch of soldiers, right? So, and obviously different types of soldiers, not important, but there would be one person, one guy specifically who had a gift of gab, right? So he wasn't exactly a warrior. He was still trained to be a warrior. It doesn't really matter, right? Every man counted within the ancient Greeks and their armies. But this particular man would transcribe everything that would happen when the battle, or like I say, whatever it was they went out for, then they would come back. It was over, they came back. This particular man would be like, he would host a narrative, a storytelling of every aspect of this now journey, to like, again, to kind of put a little bit of an entertainment value, the exact entertainment value for all the village folk, all right, whoever was there, obviously the older generation that couldn't go to war, the woman and the children, and whatever it might be, some of the obviously higher congregations of their, whatever it was, all the people, right? So the thing is that entertainment was created by the Greeks, right? When I say that, there's obviously we had cultures that were in sync, kind of like with the Egyptians, the Romans as well, kind of in that spaces are cultivating quite quickly. But the Greeks actually termed it and sat down and thought, you know what? While everyone is away, I'm saying the men are at war, we're going to perform theater now, and theater is going to be made up of stories and like not only about the Odysseys and stuff, but about, let's say, everyday life, or some fantastical journeys or whatever it may be. And they created theater and they created entertainment, and it was great. When I say created, they formalized it. Again, I've said this in a previous lecture. So cavemen had entertainment. They sang, they danced, as someone said, like an American. They danced, they painted, they had rituals, whatever it was. Like man has always had the element of entertainment, but the Greeks absolutely like polished that up and made that aspect into the definition of what entertainment is, which is that the value in distraction that something gives someone, right? So the better the entertainment, the more distracted you will be, which explains why we can binge watch a series, because it's absolutely cool and we love it, and we can sit there like vegetables, which is totally cool, just to kind of like switch off from the world around us and watch like 12 hours in a day, easy peasy. That's nothing, man. That's how we can sit through the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Star Wars trilogies. Oh, there's trilogies, yeah, there's a couple of them, right? Where they were like like up to about, on average 3 hours, sometimes it's a little longer than 3 hours long. And we would not be bored, okay, unless one of them was not great, like the second Hobbit, not great, right? But it was something that kept my attention off everything else. In other words, it distracted me. The element of distraction was great, the better the entertainment. So now you can see how this obviously factors into what we do on radio. When we are talking to you as a listener, like to our listeners, we are keeping our links tight. We're keeping them rich. We're keeping them interesting. We're talking about stuff that they want to talk about, interviews that they want to hear. We're playing them music that they love. Everything that has to do with radio is about keeping their attention off everything else and distracted by just us. Does that make sense? Right. Okay. All right. So entertainment content is successfully ingested content by your audience, whether it be a documentary, Vox insert, a news report, a celebrity update, or even something as simple as the weather. So make sure that it is relevant to those that are consuming it, and you are going to be A-OK. Let's go to the next slide, right? So a couple of points, very important. Consistency in content. If you can remember back to the CAS model and what C stood for, which was consistency. Again, I said goes throughout what you do in radio. Consistency in content doesn't mean doing the same thing all the time. It means that level of quality that you are providing to the listener. Each time you create a new benchmark, man, like you have to live up to that benchmark and more. So the thing is consistency in not this like very erratic, like suddenly we're speaking about this and then down here and then there, but it makes no sense. Right. I said to you in previous lectures that we want presenters that can speak about something that is serious, something that is political, something that is economical, something that is scientific, something that is entertaining, something that is anecdotal, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Right. But the way that the content is structured, and again, the dimensions at which, so when I teach, I say about 3 dimensions in content. In other words, let's say I'm going to go research let's say we're going to do student graduation, right? And we're going to talk about like one factor would be, let's say, a lot of what is the word I'm looking for, the degrees, right? Degrees up to like maybe let's say about 20 degrees that are no longer considered useful in society is going to be, let's say, my core content piece, right? So that is what's going to bring up my conversation around graduation that might be happening at this time of year at different varsities, doesn't really matter, right? But definitely I know that it is happening within my community, so I'll bring that up. People know that it obviously have some kind of definitely familiarity with that. I bring this up and it's kind of like a definite talk piece, right? But I do want to go into like what has been said for and against, let's say, experience versus academic. So that's going to be like my second dimension, right? I'm going to bring in, let's say, a bit of a sound bite, a bit of a cut from YouTube, something cool, something that maybe is happening on Twitter as like a bit of a rant. Definitely put out some of those. And then I would construct a call out, a conversation, or it could lead to an interview. It doesn't really matter. But more the third dimension is about the call out and the essence of me, right? So in other words, how much of me, myself, and I do I invest in making this content piece come alive? 3-dimensional content. A lot of stations don't do that. They just pick an article, they go ahead and do this like plastic call out, and it's super boring, you know. At the end of the day, we must always ask ourselves, how many people are doing the same call out at any one particular time? So we talk about seasonal content like Valentine's Day is a very good example, because you can't have a show right, on Valentine's Day and not address Valentine's Day in any kind of way. The other one is obviously our Christmas, other one's New Year, sometimes obviously, so Christmas can be a festive season thing, and then in terms of religion, like let's say maybe Easter is something that one of the stations might want to celebrate, whatever, seasonal content, right, summer, spring, winter, that type of stuff, right. Okay, so with seasonal content, like we know with Valentine's Day, everything and anything has been done. Everything and anything has been done. To test your creative power, you should look at, let's say, Valentine's Day and say, what could I possibly bring up on Valentine's Day that would be an interesting conversation? My first boss always said to me, you know what, look, so Rihanna, I've said this before, Rihanna would tell me, so we have a box. We have ideas, cool, right? So you're gonna go and let's say you're gonna pick an idea from there. Another 500 presenters or shows at any one point have got the same exact call out happening at that point. So then unbox it to another angle, right? Put another angle to it, and then do it one more time. I don't know why it was like a rule of three, doesn't matter. It was definitely his own approach. It really worked as well. So do it one more time, and you're going to be 10 to 1, the only person with those 3 dimensions, right, that I've included, that will have brought something fresh around like that specific topic, right? Okay, so for example, Valentine's Day, I'll be like, I would like to speak about, off the top of my head, the most uncomfortable Valentine's gifts that you've witnessed your parents give each other. Now that's a cool conversation. It's super saucy, and it's, I think it makes every child go, no, my parents are not people. Like, we don't want to know that aspect of them, but, you know, we have a lot of parents that are affectionate, or, let me not go to my childhood where there's some situations that I shouldn't have walked into, but anyway, right. The point is that there are people too, and it's just, as a child, you always have to be judgerach. You're going to judge them quite well. You love them still, but it's going to make for a really great conversation. How do I test this, right? I have what I call the ultimate caller. So the ultimate caller is the ultimate person, the best caller that's going to give you the best response for a call out, right? So, like I can say, like let's envision someone that is talking about their parents that are in their maybe late 60s, and I don't know, your dad bought your mom lingerie, but it was saucy, and she is, it wasn't supposed to be like a public thing, but your dad asked you, because maybe you're his daughter, how does lingerie work? I didn't know. This is the first time he's going to do it. And you were like, well, this is beyond what I need to know as a child. But you helped him out. And that's a type of caller that I want. Why is this caller important? It will help me construct the way that I'm going to ask that question and create that type of content and that entire bubble of beautiful, like I say, richness that I'm going to add to that particular call out. So please take note of all these things that I'm saying that obviously apply to future slides, whatever it is, and start letting your mind think 3-dimensionally as opposed to anything else. Okay, let's look at some other points here. Okay, so having said that, right, so just on a content piece, consistent content, right? Having said that, this also doesn't mean that you should stay away from, for example, if you are not proficient in sports, right? But sports is creating mass headlines. You must talk about it. I was producing for a presenter who was uncomfortable with talking about current affairs, right? And the thing is, I said to her, listen, it's best that you will try it out in small bits, things that are obviously comfortable within your range, but do still attack things that are current and relevant to that listener. And slowly but surely, the producer should always actually know more and should be, I say, more experienced than the presenter to guide them correctly as well. Like this presenter became more comfortable and more proficient in doing varied types of content, like I say, from sports to politics to again, anecdotes to fun stuff, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, right? Your treatment of the subject matter must be true to your on-air personality. Okay, so people get confused here. and learners get confused. Yes, I want to pick out stuff that, let's say, I like and I resonate with when I am selecting content. But the big thing is it mustn't be to please me, it must be to please the listener. And you can get both very easily. Do you have buy-in? Something I'm going to talk about later. Buy-in so that they can have buy-in as well. All right, so don't put a show together for yourself in saying that. Do not put show content together that only you find interesting. Please, it's super dangerous. There are a lot of stereotypes that actually do that, unfortunately, and it is just poor radio. No one really cares about what you love. They do want to know more about you. You might want to add that in opinion pieces at any one point because radio is organic, that's sure, but don't go make like a thing now out of it, because unless it is a thing, you know, at the end of the day, right? Okay, so rule of thumb, here it is. Reflective, consistent content is where the reflection of the presenter's personality meets the relatable content geared towards the listener's need. I can't explain that any further. It's very clear. I put it in a nice little fancy statement as well. And it really is, it sums up exactly what I've been trying or have been telling you up to now, right? Okay, with your attitude in this, with this like line of sight, where you're looking at stuff around you, you're looking at all your socials, you're looking at your news feeds, you're looking at whatever it is that you're feeling or experiencing, like you've got the listener at the back of your mind all the time, right? Okay, so basic presentation skills. How do we deliver this content, right? Is an art form that needs to be constantly cultivated. So, as we speak, I don't want to, again, I'm going to separate here and there, but I'm going to also, like I say, amalgamate the two roles, presenter, producer, together, and that is a big thing. Like, for example, here, if we're going to present content, we'll make sure that obviously when we do a lot of reading so it allows us perspective, right? And the option to be able to delve into different aspects. Should we be in an interview? Should we obviously want to respond to a caller, whatever it may be, right? But the way that we once again obviously present anything on radio that we have spoken about, it's got to be simple, right? So that and you will cultivate that talent for that richness and that X factor around how you do it over time. Okay. Manage your tone, your temperament, even your comedic timing, if that is your thing. That is imperative. Okay, if we look here, I just want to, there's some points that I wanted to make out, just as we're going to snap back to the digital age and the era that we're currently in, and some of the things that are super important in terms of content. So if we look at like radio, wasn't it the first social network? It really was, in the sense that, like, for example, if you look at a newspaper, like if you had to do like a Dear Abby or whatever it is, so you're writing into a newspaper, you want to make the commentary, like it's very delayed, it's super delayed. I mean, they might not even select some of your stuff, it doesn't really matter. If we look at TV, there's hardly any program. I don't think there's any program currently right now, I'm saying on the majority level, that allows interaction from an audience, I'm saying at home, right? So there used to be an era for that. It was all about competitions and these like late night weird things where you could like interact with your phone and you could send like text or whatever and it would come through. But that really doesn't happen. Radio is actually the first social network where we have a lot of people commenting. They arrive in their real time, real people, right? Presented by real people, right? For real people. And so that brings about a different, obviously, like we have obviously a different strength, right? A very unique strength that other mediums do not have. And you know where I'm going with this, so that we can go into social media and we can go into the digital space as well, right? So remember that when you are doing, like let's say when you are looking at the digital space, right? Specifically, and you can read through this, there's obviously quite a lot of paragraphs there. When you look at the digital space, like we must know that we are not presenting to a world again. Yes, the world can see, the world can obviously access, the world can read, the world can view, whatever it may be, and they can like. But ideally what you want to still do is still keep it local. When I say local, to your demographics of that station that you are busy obviously broadcasting on, right? So you want to make sure that the content hits home with the people that are already listening to you, because what do? We want to attract more of the same type of person in the same type of place, right? Okay, we want to obviously highlight your personality. So for example, there's an example here about the 90s. People didn't go to like a Bulls game to watch basketball. They went to go watch Michael Jordan. You know, there's this great movie. I loved it. It was great. It's called A.I.R. It had nothing to do with Michael Jordan, but about like just obviously the sponsorship around Nike and stuff, right? Anyway, doesn't matter. But the point is that like it showed the brand aspect of creating some kind of. It's above reality. It's almost like they become a bit of a caricature. Michael Jordan is a bit of a caricature, so not a real person. Spice Girls, not real people, in a way. A bit of a caricature of a person and a brand that they want to connect with. We want to be able to talk to. But again, this personality must be larger than life. We must present them in such a way, you must present yourself in such a way that you are a little bit fancier, a little bit like glamorous, like shamazing, that type of stuff. Like you got to be a little bit more because you are an entertainer. You got to escalate that to another level. We have to look at, let's say, the consideration of what an influencer is and a brand advocate is super important, right? Anyone is an influencer. Sorry for influencers who are watching this and think that everybody's an influencer, finished, right, at the end of that, right? So everybody's an influencer because as you go and you post stuff and you do talk, you do influence other people's opinions, their viewpoints, their, let's say, what happens in their conversation, and the content of that conversation as well. Like you do influence them, right? Okay, sure. No, so you got a lot more people, but again, I've said this in a previous lesson as well, a brand activator is much more effective than an influencer is. An influencer has chosen that decision. They've made their own. They've made their own road, their own path. They don't follow any rules that are, similar to another influencer, or there isn't like a rule book on how to be an influencer, right? Whereas a brand activator is a professional, quote unquote. Again, sorry, not sorry to people that consider themselves influencers, like larger than life, right? Okay, want to also make sure that the digital space is most used to make sure that you do influence, but you influence your listeners, right? They train of thought, give them something thoughtful, something creative. I said create that digital calendar. It's great, right? But we also want to be able to make sure that digital calendar includes promotions, advertising, all that type of stuff as a station itself, for the show itself, and for the presenter themselves. Okay, so we're going to end off the lesson, right, with the A.I.R methodology. Okay, a presenter's guide to content creation. So A.I.R, the approach, ingest, and how to relay. And this was super cool. Obviously, because it's my methodology, I get that I would say it's super cool. It really is effective as well on how you decide to approach content now, right? So we're going to do each part of the methodology, but the one is dependent on the next is dependent on the one before, and so on and so forth. Let's look at what approach is. First is to change your mindset on how you gather content, what you consider content, how you approach content. In other words, like which angles I'm going to be using it at. Do I just want to go flat in? Do I see something more interesting here? Like your dedication to, your approach to content creation needs to be like militant. When I say militant, dedicated, passionate, and definitely has to have a fresher, again, outlook than other people. And you can't compare yourself to other people. You don't know what they're doing. There's a gazillion people doing content creation right now. If you have to keep track of them, like you're going to keep track of them until you die, right? Okay, so focus on yourself. put this into your own ethos and your own, like I say, behavior, mindset, and take your approach, change that, right? So it should make your skin crawl to hear a broadcaster literally read line by line content that is coming off a piece of paper, right? Or let's say on their phones or whatever it is. And it's like, well, I mean, I can go read it myself, and you're maybe not even reading it correctly. Also, you're not talking to me, you're talking at me. There's so many things wrong with that. Oh my word. Oh God, I don't know, right? It's just, don't do that at all. Like like a presenter is being paid, or they're being hired, I say community-wise, right, to do a job. So you must do it. Your approach consists of the following questions that you need to ask yourself. Is this content informative? Right? Okay. So does it inform, entertain, educate them? Right. How does it apply to the largest majority of my listening public, whether it be for the station, whether it be for the day, whether it be for the show or the speciality show that you might be on? Okay. Right. Does it fulfill the criteria of it being entertaining? In other words, distracting, right? Is it good enough to distract people so they can have a good time, right? Okay. Is it topical? So topical means relevance. Topical can also mean, the way that we structure things around, is it around mental health? Is it about feminism? Is it about, racism, whatever it is? I don't know, right? Like, is it topical? But topical also has to do with current. Is it current as well? Okay. So is it time stamped? So let's say, I like to use the example of Sonar. I think I've used it before, but because Sonar is something that's like stagnant throughout, the South African, I would say, event calendar every single year. It's somewhere, it happens somewhere, a lot of things are being said, but then they see the repercussions of what is said at Sonar throughout the year, or the Sonar fiscal year, right? Okay, so we would be able to re-timestamp something that happened in the past to make it relevant to today as well, okay? Has this content been used before? So is it seasonal content? Like I said to you about Valentine's Day, and do I need to maybe take a new approach to that then as well? Can I stretch the content far enough throughout the show so as to not make it boring? Please do not do content pieces that last an hour. It's lazy. People come in and out of let's say that content piece. Nothing is that interesting to hold it on for an hour. Maybe half an hour is long enough, so 3 links maybe, and that's it. If we want to do dynamic content, so let's say I want to approach this, it's dynamic, means I do, let's say, a call out on mental health, but then, and I get some callers here, or voice notes, but then here I've got an interview with, let's say, a psychologist, or with, let's say, an actor that is currently gone. I mean, Danelle went out, made that statement about her mental health. Like, maybe I got Danelle on the line, I spoke to a psychiatrist or psychologist, or them together. It doesn't really matter, right? Like, that is dynamic content. It will flow for 45 minutes, really cool and great, because it changes different layers, right? But to carry on the same call out, oh my word, for the next 5 links or whatever it is throughout the hour, it's lazy radio. It's totally boring. Please don't do it. Right. Okay. So how can I manipulate the content to work for the time of day, who is listening at that time, and within obviously the format of the station? Can I use an edit? Do I spin off a caller, or do I let it live online? Or some of the very important questions that I would also ask myself. I'd be like, this looks great in video. So for example, let's say you want to do a little bit of a dance challenge. Like, who cares? We can't hear it. I mean, I'm saying, don't do a dance challenge on air. That no one cares. You're going to do it on on a Insta reel, on TikTok or something like that, right? And I have to kind of cringe at this, because I think I did this myself in my student years, right, was to get a tattoo on air, right, which made no sense. Like, it made no sense. It sounded really cool, right, but it made no sense. No one can see it. No one can feel. No one cares. You understand, right? And I actually heard this year, right now on our breakfast show, that this breakfast talk was getting a tattoo on on air. No one cares. A tattoo also takes long to put on. I'm just saying 2 to 3 to 4 hours. And now we're going to have to update you the whole time on blabbing on about this tattoo. And now we're going to interview the tattoo artist. It's not that cool. I mean, it's not that interesting. And it surely is not relevant at all, because there isn't an influx of maybe, I don't know, like offensive tattoos that are it's diseasing the nation, and it's like a trend or whatever it is. So now you're going to do something on tattoos. It was nothing. It was totally selfish. It was totally boring, and it was totally like nothing I wanted to listen to or anyone else. No one cared, right? So the thing is, again, that would be something much better if needed, and it would include I did interview tattoo artists when I was at commercial radio, right? But only for a competition where I would go and have this tattoo right here, show you, right? Why not? I don't. So this thing over here, right? So this one here was so it was done as a competition, but I would go with my listeners. There were 3 listeners, and we'd all go get tattoos together. That was really cool, and we obviously, it was a paid for competition or whatever it may be, and I like to have a couple of tats myself, so I didn't mind that. It was super cool. The experience was fun, because it was great, obviously, visual imaging as well for online and whatever it is. But it had a different context, and so I had to understand, is it important? How is it important? Is it paid for? Is it not? Does it belong on air? Does it belong live, as a live transition, maybe on YouTube Live, on digital, etc. Okay, all right. Is in what format am I going to consume this content? Video, audio, or is it online? Again, and most importantly, here is a step that goes into the next step, which is, do I buy into the content, right? In other words, do I have a personal investment in wanting to share this, construct this, put this together for my listener? Do I buy in? Let's go there. It leads us to the ingest part, right? So the A.I.R approach, ingest, relay. Ingest. The process of ingesting is to really get it, on many different levels, both technical and obviously, let's say, a little bit more psychosomatic as well, whatever it may be. Here are a couple of questions that you have to ask yourself. They don't have to all be yeses, but you've got to tick them across and say, should I not, right? So, is what I'm doing on air enough to, 1, keep my listeners' attention, 2, compelling enough to keep it? So it's a big statement, very proud of it, I love it as well. Does that make sense? So to get my listeners' attention is one thing, to keep it is another, right? Okay, so they can switch off, they can be like sparked off and be like, oh, this is great, whatever it is, but then it became totally boring, right? At the end of the day. So I've got to construct that on my, reconstruct, so that I know I'm succinct, and I say succinct, it means to be clear, cut, concise at the end of the day. All right, anyway, an easy rule of thumb is to check your buy-in is by a number of questions, right? Okay, so here we go. Do I understand it technically, scientifically? Are the facts sound, and are they true? Very important, right? Okay, so there's a couple of things there. So if we are going to be talking to, let's say, scientists, or we're going to be talking to engineers, we're going to talk about, let's say, again, to a politician, do I understand the jargon? Do I understand the context of that also? And do I know what I am talking about, right? Okay, understand how it is relevant within the context of the listener's life, right? Okay, so the life to your life as a person, because you are a person, and so is your listener a person, is it important in your life and their life, right? To bring it in. Understand its relevance within the context of your show. So if your show is not about current affairs, not about, let's say, hard-hitting journalism, you are not allowed to do it. Finished, right? Okay. Excuse me. Right. Okay. Understand the context within the format of the radio station. Understand the context of its place in the medium. Would it live better on another platform? Once again, right? And understand how. So that is the one that goes to the next one, the relay. Understand how to convey this content right here in the best way possible. So let's. I was going to elaborate on that, but I think those questions are quite definitely clear and understandable. All right, let's go to the last one. So relay, the way that I'm going to execute this. Execution is not just about opening your mouth and flapping your tongue or whatever it is, but it is about the way that you talk about something, what you say about how you say something, or how you are maybe taking your perspective on it, what you are saying, what you're choosing as information that you want to emphasize towards a listener, want to relay, as I say. So the final step is obviously relaying the content, and this is a quick one, man. But it's always not easy to nail it like at every single time. So it's not just for amateurs. When I say amateur jocks like yourself, you're going to start out now. It's difficult to get it correct. I say radio is very difficult to really get it right, but very easy once you do get it right, and just for you to grow then afterwards, right? The thing is that all of us can fail. Any presenter at any age with a lot of experience, doesn't matter, can fail at the point where we want to go and execute the link. Once I have all my prep, once I own it, once I have constructed it, once I've got all my voxes, my editables, whatever it is in line, I know I'm ready now for the last step to actually get this through to the listener. Okay, right. Why? Simple. You have forgotten the golden rule of radio. Talk to someone, not at someone. Okay, so that doesn't only mean watching your conversation tone as opposed to some robotic like hard sell. Again, like a hard sell said to you like it's 1999 at Pick and Pay, and we mustn't use the radio voice because it is old and it's dead and it's back in 1980 where it kind of died. But remember, being on air is about like really just feeling that you are talking to that one person, and talking to them, and they know it. Like I'm not going to go as far as saying you're making them feel special, but you are. I mean, you're talking to them, you are adding value to their life, and they don't feel patronized. Again, I say you do not patronize someone, don't talk down to them, and don't act holier than thou. Please, no one cares about you immediately in life, just in general. When you act as though you're better than, or that you know more than, or that whatever it is. So always make sure that you are checking those little boxes of like, let me make sure I'm a human talking to a human being in a professional state. Anyway, okay. Accomplishing buy-in of your content, right? Are you accomplishing? So that buy-in comes through with passion and presence. Kind of like what I'm doing right now. Like I'm focusing on you. I'm focusing on the content. I'm focusing on the scores. Like I'm focusing on the fact that I'm present and I know what I'm saying and I know how to say it and I know where I'm going with it as well, right? That presence and that buy-in of your content is super important in the relay, the executable part of this methodology. All right. Does it give you authority on the subject? Love that, right? Does it change your tone? Does it allow you perspective and award you opinion? I love that. Ooh, I could graph Chris. Oh. I did. I mean, it was great writing anyway. So yeah, does it award you an opinion on the subject matter? How do we award ourselves an opinion? With information, knowledge that we actually add to that. So a little bit of ownership. And you know, when you want to ask questions, you've got an interview, you've got some callers on, you ask some questions, like be that person that as part of your execution learns stuff, but doesn't back down as well. Only back down in like when it makes sense, you know? Back down, learn something new, say cool, that was great, and like again, just indulge in that conversation. Okay, in closing, like do you have a great ear for radio is what this is all about as well. Okay, so let's talk about this whole this concept of having a great ear. So when you are listening to a station, like, are you okay with mediocrity? And as a practitioner right now, and as a listener, I'm sorry, like if I go to a restaurant and it is fruit food, or it's cold, or it doesn't taste good, like I know what good food tastes like, and I know what bad food tastes like. So I will know also what good radio sounds like, and what mediocre radio and bad radio sounds like at the same time. Now, developing a great ear for radio is very important for you to be able to also listen to yourself as you are doing it, as you're executing radio, and be like, okay, this sounds good. At the end of the day, does it sound great? It'll only happen a couple of times. And when I say not a couple of times in your lifetime, it'll happen every now and again, you're going to do great radio, but good radio is what we really want at the end of the day, right? Okay, not about being famous. Don't come there. Don't come with a Beyonce entrance. Don't nose your way down a ramp. You know, like, don't do that. People don't care for it because you're not Beyonce. They didn't pay like 1,500 Rand for the ticket to go watch you in concert, right? They want you to approach them like they would approach you, which is normally and with respect, right? Okay, so put your listeners' needs before your own. Always, okay? It becomes a joy. It really does. Like, so when you're pleasing your listener, and I know that kind of sounds a little dirty, but you know what I mean, right? So when you hear them and they're excited to be part of the show, or they send you messages, say thank you, or they follow you on social media, and they're just like loving the fact that you have come into their life and you're giving them what they want, man. That's a sweet spot. That's where you need to go, right? Okay, take a step back. Once you have all this in check, then examine your environment, right? So the thing is that with the environment as well, the studio, you have to be like an octopus, with a lot of tentacles that operates many different apparatus, right? At the same time, the desk, the phone lines, the computer, the mic, other mics, like I did say the phone line, right? The ISDN lines, if there is anything that you want to, like, let's say a stream from DSTV or any other streaming platform, it doesn't really matter, right? And you want to put that out on air, are we going to go like live to a field report? Like we say, you got to be you have tentacles everywhere. It becomes super easy after a while of making a ton load of mistakes. And again, from the production side, presenter side, start the ownership of the studio at the end of the day. Okay, cool. So if you don't have that, go and practice. Just practicing in the production studio. There'll always be more than one studio at a station, so that for the main fact that if one studio bombs out, that you can keep, like, obviously broadcasting in another studio. Anyway, so you always have one to go and practice. Okay, and are you using all the tools, right? Are you doing your show clocks? Like, are you pre-recording edits? Like, do you know how to record voxes that are clear and again are cut correctly, and then put this final show all together? And this is again one of my favorite things. First day of my radio journey. So my first training day at Tuks FM, those 23 years ago, and 24. Simon Frost, who was my program manager, used this analogy, and I loved it because I love ninjas. I love ninjas, right? It says, like, are you a ninja? Like, you have to be a ninja of your environment. I was like, wow, I want to be like a ninja anyway. It doesn't matter. Like, how does this work into broadcasting anyway? But a ninja is a master of your environment. If you watch a lot of ninjutsu or ninja movies or whatever it is, martial arts movies, whatever, like, you'll see that they can make, I don't know, they can make a weapon out of a glove, you know, like or a scarf or whatever it is, or paper, I don't know, right? So the ninja is also really quiet, understands, and it blends in with the environment that they're in. And I love this analogy. It was great because it says, like, do you use everything around you that you can as arsenal for a great show and being a great presenter? I'm going to end it at that. Let's go into part 2.